3617, respond to report of shots fired.
The Coroner Talk podcast takes you behind the scenes with coroners, clinicians, and death investigators from around the world to provide training, news, and interviews from leading experts in the area of death investigation and scene management, bringing real stories and solid training together in one source. Now, here's your host, Darren Dake.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's episode of Coroner Talk. I am so glad that you joined me this week. For those of you that are a regular listener and you have our feed going to your phone or something like that, you'll notice that we are doing the midweek focus trainings. The Coroner Talk podcast, the full podcast, will normally be twice a month, every other week, every other Wednesday, or every other Monday, sorry. And in the middle of the week, there is going to be what we call midweek focus or a training focus, but it's a short 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the very max, generally 10 minutes or less, something on a training topic. Now, that training topic can vary about a number of things, but you'll get a very short little overview of something that's good training, very to the point each week. And then every other week, there's going to be a full Coroner Talk podcast episode. So just you kind of now on the website, you'll only see the full podcasts. Those are not on the short ones in the middle. The focus podcasts are not on the website. They only come to your feed. So that's why if you go to the website, you might not see those. So these are only for people who have subscribed to the show and are getting the feed automatically to their phone or their iPad or something like that. So just something new that we're trying, just another way to get more information out and more training out there. I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago about the Death Investigator magazine. If you haven't already subscribed to that, it'd be great if you did. Free, lots of good articles, lots of good information, and it is 100% free. So you might as well take advantage of that as well because it's all still very, very good training. And as this podcast goes live, we are at the end of January 2024, and the 40-hour, it's actually more like 62 or 3 hours. It's 40-hour classroom, 20-something hours online afterwards, optional for you. But that is the classroom training that we do in Springfield, Missouri twice a year, and that is in March. So again, as this comes out live, this is the end of January 2024. So if you're looking to go to the March 24 MDI course, it'd be best if you would jump on that pretty quick because I know as we record this in January, we're already getting seats registered, so it could fill. So be sure you jump on that as soon as you can, if you're interested in coming to the classroom class. And if you came to one years ago, it would do you good to come back because there are some different instructors. We have some different topics. We've changed things around. Plus, we've added 22 hours of online training optional to you afterwards, which makes it a much better course, so to speak. It used to be when it first started years ago with 3 days. So now that it's 5 days, plus the online, plus we provide you breakfast and lunch, and there's just a lot of good stuff there. So if you're interested in that, jump in, look at it. You can go to ditacademy.org/MLDI, or you can find the Academy page from the website. Either way, but check it out and see if it fits you, fits your department, something that you might want to do. All right, so today's topic, we're going to talk about technology in the coroner medical examiner field. What technology does your office use? Are you still on pen and paper? And some coroner offices are. What type of technology is available for you out there? And also, we're going to talk about paperless office, how to run a coroner's office totally without pen and paper. This is a part of a conversation that I had during a live chat session with some other coroners around the country and some students. And so it doesn't identify people. It doesn't identify states. It's just a conversation about technology use and paper office or paperless office. And so, but it's a great conversation. And I think you're going to pick up some good tips there. You may want to go, maybe not completely paperless, but more paperless than you are now. And then we're talking about some technology that it's inexpensive and makes your job and life as a coroner or as an investigator easier and better. So we're going to talk about that all today. And then I will play that for you, and because that's pre-recorded, and then I'll be back live, so to speak, afterwards, just to recap, summarize at the end of that. So without any further delay, here's the conversation I had with that team.
Adjust your earbuds, turn up those speakers, and hang on. It's now time for this week's featured conversation.
One of the things that I started this on was just a discussion for whatever you guys want to talk about. I'll answer questions or talk about whatever you want to talk about. But just as a topic, I had said technology used in coroner, ME offices, death investigation type stuff. And then I bring that up because a couple of weeks ago, I was on a roundtable discussion with some of the folks with the International Coroners Association, and that was a topic that they talked about. And it was interesting to hear some of the technologies that other places are using, and also some of the places that are not using any technology. Like there are still coroners offices that are pen on paper, and that's fine, I guess. But do you guys use a computer system for reporting, or just pen on paper?
Mostly they are pretty antique over at our coroner's office. Slight technology, but mostly pen and paper.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And there's a lot of computer programs out there like MDI Log and Verticue, and I don't know, I'm going to get in trouble because there's other ones I'm going to miss.
Quincy.
But there's several out there, and they're all good. They all have their goods and their plus and minuses or whatever. But there's good for tracking and reporting. But there's other technology like fingerprint scanners. I just wonder how many on the call here, if you wait on chat or whatever, do you fingerprint every decedent that you deal with?
We still do ink. Every death scene at the sheriff's office, we still do major case prints with ink.
And that is with homicide, suicide, or suspicious, or is that with all dead people?
No, just homicide, suicide, or suspicious.
Yeah.
Or industrial.
Yeah, right. And again, nothing wrong with that, but like decedent ID and some other things like that, you plug it into an iPhone and you can roll prints, and you got 10 print cards you can mail. It's not expensive. And I just wonder, why some places haven't started going to that type of thing. So Dylan weighed in here and he says that they only print decedents when they're trying to establish identity. And I understand that. And that's what we did for my office for many, many years. Like we didn't waste the time to fingerprint everybody. Partly because when you don't have a facility and you don't have a good way of bringing bodies in and through, it's hard to do that. So, but now if we release at the scene, so if Pawpaw dies in his bed and we release at the scene, we're obviously not fingerprinting him. But if a decedent comes through our morgue, they get fingerprinted. And it could be that Pawpaw died in his bed, but we don't know what funeral home we're going to use. And so I need to call Aunt Susie and we need to talk about it tomorrow. So I don't know how to release him. So the body is removed from the home and goes to our office, to our morgue. They're fingerprinted. But then that also includes the homicide, suicides, unidentified, suspicions. If we bring them back for toxicology, we fingerprint them. And I think I have kind of found that it's easier to do that when you have a facility to bring them in and you have the digital scanner with the iPad and you do it. If you've got to do everything out from the trunk of your car on the scene, that limits us, right? I mean, that's so not impossible, but it does kind of limit us. There's other technology like the mobile DNA, this rapid DNA. Does anybody on the call use rapid DNA testing? Do you have a machine near you or share? Have you ever done that, Kenny, down there? It's expensive. And generally there's an agency that might have it, within a region. It's expensive to buy. So if you can get a grant and do it, but this rapid DNA works pretty good at trying to make a comparison. If you've got, especially on mass disasters, or if you have an unidentified and you've got some family members, it works pretty fast. Let me read the chat here real quick. So budget restraints aren't helping the issue. I would agree that everyone should be printed for the sake of consistency and reliability of information. Yes, but again, we didn't do it for a long time because we couldn't either. There was one situation where we discovered that we had the completely wrong ID on someone once their prints came back. I worked in autopsy tech, so I really don't have any say in procedures, but it's something that I would like to know or have more knowledge on as I pursue my career as an MDI in the same office. So no, I agree. one of the reasons why we want to do prints is that we know that this is John Smith. He is visually identified as John Smith, and we're not going to run him through APHIS or FBI or something like that to figure out if it's John Smith. We have no reason to. But if there would ever be a question, now we have prints on file. But again, budget constraints. One of the things that we do now as well is every decedent that comes through our morgue, we do a 2-spot DNA card. So we have DNA on everybody, and it's just sealed and retained. Part of that is so that, again, we couldn't do it before, but we have the ability to do it now because we have a facility, because you have to collect it. They have to collect the blood, then you have to let it dry, and then you have to seal it and all that. But we've had cases come up where 4 or 5 years later, we have an attorney contact our office and want to know about, hey, did this person die in your county? Yes. Well, we have a possible paternity case. Do you have any blood or DNA? No, we didn't have any of that because we had no way to keep it or store it. So that's another reason why we're keeping it. But
we don't do it only because it's really not our responsibility.
To take it and store it, you mean? Or yeah,
right. and when you get back to fingerprinting again, the cost.
What's the cost on that?
Well, you tell me. You were talking about. I hate to go backwards, but I finally got my earbuds working.
Yeah, no, going backwards is fine. So, do you have a computer program that you do your coroner, like MDI log or 30Q or something like that?
Yep, Quincy Tech.
Oh, so yeah, they take samples in case of paternity. Dylan does. Okay, so the cost, if you have an iPad or an iPhone already, then that's not a cost. But if you have an old one, but I just ordered new equipment for because our other stuff was all on Android system, and I want to get rid of all that. So I just ordered and we updated, so we're now on the iOS system. So that was like last week. I ordered the new stuff. So the fingerprint scanner is $900 and some. We already own the iPad, so we don't need to worry about that. And it works on an iPhone too if you have an old iPhone. And then the app is like $300 a year to have access to the app per email. So in our case, we have we created an email that's just for fingerprints. So when any of our investigators take the fingerprint, they send it to one email address, and they can all get in there to print them back down. We didn't see a need of having multiple app charges. So $300 a year for the app and $995 to get the fingerprint scanner, as long as you have an iPad, right? So that's not that much. And then, of course, you can do what's called slap prints, which are just straight down prints, or you can roll either all 10 or just do thumb and index on each hand. And once you save those, you can upload them into, if you have MDI log, you can upload them into your document section or whatever program you have. Just upload them as a picture, a JPEG or PNG, and you have them forever. And then if you do ever have to send them off, you've got them to send off. Do you see a need or a convenience or a reason to now maybe to do it on everybody? Or is that work that's not necessary?
Not particularly, because again, I only have 2 years left. I've been involved for 40 some years. And it's never ever been an issue as to an identification through fingerprints, and usually our state police will do fingerprints when necessary. If it's a homicide or something, they'll do fingerprints at autopsy, and that's usually the only time. I'm just not seeing the absolute need in our caseload of 350 calls a year. I'm not seeing the need for that. And we're a rural county, so
and I'm not going to disagree with you. I don't know that I could stand up and make a real argument as to the need of why we're fingerprinting every decedent, other than we've had those 1 or 2 times come up that there was an identity questioned. And of course, now we're also doing DNA spot cards, but there was identity was questioned months later. So, and here's a good point. Just come to mind. It's a case this year. This man died and had no family, had one person, one sister, and didn't claim him. everybody in the town knew who he was. The cops knew who he was. I mean, I even knew him. I know his name. There was no issue of that. However, he was a little bit decomped, not bad, but a little bit. And the sister denied that her brother died. And we're like, well, I'm sorry, man, but that is your brother. Well, I want to see pictures. And of course that didn't help anything really. And we, of course, we have fingerprints. We have all that. We have no problem whatsoever that it's him, but he's been cremated. So, and we also got DNA spot cards. So if for some reason this guy would ever show back up and like, I'm the real John Smith, who did we cremate? So
yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah, and of course, in that case, maybe that's the extreme case because he was unclaimed, and that might justify the need for it. But we've had other times over the last years. I started in '98, so we have times where people years later say, "Well, that wasn't my dad," or "I don't believe it was him," ever. But I guess for us, the reason we started doing it is because since we have the facility, it's easy enough to do it. So we do it once and we have it forever. But it is extra. It is extra work, kind of.
It's not so much the extra work. And the expense, I don't know if I could get that through, especially the $300 a year.
And that's another thing. And you're not alone in that. So, and I'm talking generic here. I have made my personal case. I have a pretty good working relationship with our county commissioners and all of that. I mean, it's not unlimited spending. We're kind of rural too, but there are a lot of county coroners that, I mean, every little bit nickel is dealt with the county commissioners, and they don't, or board of supervisors, what do you call them? And they have a hard time getting any new technology because they're like, you don't need that. It ain't worth that. And that makes
I don't have that.
These coroner's offices
Yeah,
grow.
It does. I don't have that problem, but trying to justify it, I'm just trying to figure out how to justify it. Look at, I don't want to speak ill about other counties and other states, but really, I don't think there's anybody on this phone or on this Zoom meeting who's going to say, if you have somebody burned beyond recognition, that you wouldn't do at least dental identification.
Yeah. Right.
I know of a county that they did nothing because the uncle said, well, yeah, that's who it is.
Let's talk about paperless office. I know you're working on that. How you think you're completely paperless now?
We are as close to paperless as you could possibly be. We generate
that's technology as well. So let's talk about how you do cases and how is your office paperless and how do you even get by with that? Because we have a computer system and we still got files of paper.
Everything we do is electronic. We could literally be paperless if we wanted to start and take our tablet to the scene and start entering the information there. You can either write on the Android and take notes, but we have a 8.5, basically, what is it? A half a sheet of paper on both sides. Yeah. It's on cardstock. That's how we start the case. We take all that information down, ask those questions I was talking and several others. That then goes into the computer. From that point on, everything else is digital. We request medical records by fax. Well, it's electronic fax. Mm-hmm. It's a fax server. So we can sit at our computer and send a request out to the hospital. And we ask them to either send it back encrypted by email or by fax. Yeah. When it comes back into our fax server, it comes in electronically. So it automatically makes a PDF. We take that PDF, drop it into the case file.
On the computer.
So that's electronic. Yeah, on the computer. Never gets printed. That's on the computer. When we do the death certificate, it's done by electronic death certificate. We don't have to print that. We sign it electronically. Mm-hmm. There is no reason to, even our forensic pathologist, our one forensic pathologist says, hey, can you just email your reports to us? So we'll email, whether it be the medical records and our reports to him. He gets that prior to us even getting there with the body. So he's already has it electronically. So we don't even print out a report to hand to him. And in our software, it also allows for us to generate the authorization to do the autopsy. So that's there. Everything we do, all of our pictures come off of our SD card into our computer and into we're redundant. We have what's called a G drive at the county level. So all of our pictures, all of our files, everything are saved on a G drive and in our case management software. We're never going to lose anything.
So all of
we're
your
redundant.
documents are saved
all
on
the
their county
documents
G drive?
On the county G drive and in our case management software.
And you're remote, though, from your county, right? Like, you're not in the courthouse. You're not in the administrative building.
No, I'm not in the courthouse.
Cloud?
No, it's all done on the county server. It's all done on the county server. I'm connected right to the server hardline, actually, because they ran a dedicated line from the courthouse to our facility. Of course, our facility is the coroner's office, the magistrate's office, the 911 center, EMA. So it's a big facility, but there is a dedicated line to our buildings.
So
we're connected directly.
When you do you take everything in MDI log and then do you send that over to the G drive, or do you upload it to the G drive under a case number and the MDI log separately?
When we give it a case number, like right now, say 2000 or 2023 dash whatever the case is. Yeah. So that's the case file number and name in our Quincy Tech, which is our case management software, and that's the same on our G drive for the county. So
but I'm
everything we do,
you have to save it in two places. So
save it to let's click. Come on.
Yeah. So there's a file. There's a file on the G drive with that case number in it. So and then if you get medical records or if you get anything else,
and they get dropped into that folder
later on.
Each case gets a folder. Yeah. So you have the year, and then each case. And each case is a folder, and each case inside that folder has a folder with the photographs, has the folder of the medical records request, has the medical records, and then, like I said, photographs of scene, photographs of autopsy, all get saved back into the G drive and into our case management software. And again, it's click. It's
right.
If your office burns down and you have paper, guess what? They're gone.
Well,
they're gone.
And that's right. Those offices we started talking about, I think you were off just a little bit. And Kenny and I was talking about paper versus, and some of these coroner's offices still use paper, and, they write their notes and they write their forms and they file them, and that happens a lot. But you're right. Then what happens if the place burns down? Now, we are not paperless, although we have all the technology you just mentioned.
Plus,
we still print everything. Now, we don't print medical
records.
You
do fingerprints, and we don't.
Yeah. So let's say we have 3 or 4 pages from the ED or something like that, and the investigator gets that while they're there. That's paper, and that's put into a file. But if we get 50 pages worth of medical records, we don't print all that. We just upload it into the case, and they can look at it off the case documents online, whatever, on computer.
Right. But you can scan anything you have
printed. Most of the stuff is printed. We have files. We have the case that from yesterday. They'll get files. They'll get a paper file, and the investigators report whenever it's done. Whenever the case is done, the report will be printed. Not the pictures, but any of the paperwork. Not 50 pages of medical records. But there's a lot of stuff that's like if we release property, the person has to sign to release property. We scan that.
We have that.
We also put it in the paper.
Yeah, we have an inventory form. That's in triplicate. So we do an inventory, and then the funeral home picks up the body, and they're picking up the remains and personal effects. They have to sign the inventory form, but we rip off the top copy. We keep the top copy, give them the next 2 copies. So when they get back to their funeral home, they can sign, or the family can sign for them. Then the family gets a copy, and the funeral home still has a copy. Yeah. So that the chain of custody, even to that point, stays. That's probably the only other paper we use, unless if they want to view photographs, if they want to come in and view we have a form that they have to sign there. But again, it gets scanned in and then shredded. We don't save any paper. It gets scanned and saved.
I see.
But the big key here is it has to be saved as a PDF-A. PDF-A is archivable. What that does, it locks the font so that 30 years from now, if there's computer changes, that font is going to be accessible. You're going to be able to read it. So, and I'm sure it's nationwide, that PDF-A is archivable. So it's never, the font can't change. Once it gets in, it's locked. You can never change the font.
I'd never heard of that. So that's interesting.
Yes, that is the key. And in Quincy Tech, everything they save, when we save it as it's automatically saved as a PDF-A. Okay. That's one of the key things that I learned in the last couple of years. And there is a way, and we took all of our old scan files and converted them to PDF-A. Yeah. And of course, here we go. You have the cost of buying Adobe Pro to be able to do that. So that's where we spent the money there to do that. But again, any paper we generate eventually gets scanned in and saved in the case management file, and in because it's click, 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 it's done, and you move on. So no matter where I am, I can pull up a file on my cell phone and look at everything. I've done my one deputy. She's actually left. We've left the autopsy. She's sitting next to me in the vehicle, and she's finished it in her case management. And then there's a bridge. You just hit click, and it goes to EDRS, and it sends it to the state for the electronic death certificate from our case management file. I helped build that bridge with Quincy Tech. So I've got the. I'm too old now. See, I just lost it. My dementia just kicked in.
Well, and that's the bridge you're talking about is something we don't have. So right. We have a. Does your entire state use Quincy Tech?
No.
Okay. No. Well, so that's good because like our whole state, they use different things. Like not everybody uses. There's like 4 in a state, but who knows what they use. But that's what we don't have is this bridge to vital records. So
right, and we have a bridge.
The funeral homes start them, and then then they put them in our queue, and then we finish them. But it's not bridged with our software. It can be. Our software is set up for it, but our state's not set up for it.
Right. So we did, and like I said, how I don't know, but my skill set with databases, I understand how they work. So the state actually picked me to help build the bridge with Quincy Tech. And when Quincy heard about this, they were elated too, because when we built our system back in 2016, I think it was 15, 16, I really pay attention to detail when it comes to the electronic stuff. And they like that. And I know the back side of it. So I know when you have to map things, I don't want to get really sideways here, but there's a lot to it. Yeah. But I understand that. So when we built the bridge, it didn't take very long, a few weeks, and we had the bridge, and then we rolled it out slowly. Of course, the state is going to change now to a different software, so I don't know how that's going to roll out. But yeah, of course.
Now that's your retirement job. You're going to retire in 2 years and then become the bridge master.
Well, no, even Quincy asked me, he goes, well, when you retire, I might have to hire you.
Yeah, you're going to become the little troll that lives under the bridge that tells them what they're doing.
Yeah, well, we went sideways really bad there. But anyhow, it's very possible to completely go paperless all the way to the point of using your iPhone or your Android, and this system works on both platforms.
Yeah.
So you could literally...
here's something to think about. And I like all of that, and I need to maybe think about doing that in our new system, our new building, and all that. But I'm scared to throw away paper, and that's the thing. I guess I need to probably go to group therapy or something.
Well, I'm coming there with a gallon of gas and a match, and we'll see how scared you get.
And I have no, it's all online. I mean, it's all scanned in. It's all in our software. It's all backed up. It's just, and so you say, well, why are you keeping the paper? I don't know. I'm just scared to throw it away, I guess, because I'm old school. I don't know, but you're exactly right. It's all scanned in. Well,
I'm older than you, old school. So stop.
I know, but I don't know. It's just one of those things. But you mentioned iPhones, and this is an interesting thing I heard the other day. You know, we always talk about don't be using your personal phone to take death pictures, right? Because it could get subpoenaed.
We have county phones.
And so if you're going to use an iPhone, if it's a county phone, that's fine. Only use it for that or whatever else.
Right.
But I had a case the other day, not my case, just somebody else in another county. They have a county phone and they used the county phone to do all their stuff. And the attorney subpoenaed their personal phone.
Yep.
And they're like, no, this personal phone, they don't use it for county business. The county phone's for county business. The personal phone isn't used for county business. And so they said, well, have you ever used your personal phone to call the office, to call another investigator? Well, yeah. So even though you have your personal phone and never use it for county business, that doesn't mean it still might not get subpoenaed.
Right.
You know, it's just, anyway, that's my thing is, even if you say, well, all I'm saying is be careful because what you don't want is to get your personal phone subpoenaed and then your baby mama picture on there and your wife don't know about her. That's going to be a real problem.
Right. Yeah.
So, but we are subject to have our phones subpoenaed. So even if we don't use them, so we got to be careful what's on them. You say, well, it's my personal phone. Well, that may not always be the case. And I figured until this guy lost this deal. And luckily he didn't have anything on his phone that was going to be embarrassing or a problem, but he could have,
But they could have also argued the fact that they could limit the search to work related.
True.
And if you have a good solicitor, I would assume that they would immediately put that out there to limit it to work related only search.
And they may, and they may have, I guess, I don't know the rest of the story. And they may have done that, but still kind of scary. Like I think back on my phone, like, do I have anything on my phone that would be embarrassing to be public? I'm like, I don't think so. I've taken pictures of death scenes with my own phone, with my personal phone, because the camera was dead and it was a natural causes death. And I'm telling you what, my iPhone takes better pictures than my $600 county camera does. So
yes. Yeah.
But it was a natural causes death. It wasn't a homicide or whatever. And I took 8 or 10 pictures of situations, whatever, and I uploaded it. It was done. And that's fine. It's done. But I used it at one point. And then there's this other thing. And this is a word of caution. Every coroner, death investigator that's ever around has probably saved on their phone interesting death scenes. And maybe you didn't take them with your phone, but maybe you downloaded them and you've got some interesting stuff. And when you're at conferences and you're at trainings and you're with other coroners and other people, you get to talking about war stories. You get to talking about, I had a case here and I had a case there. Well, look at this case. And you call up 2 or 3 pictures and show somebody on your personal phone because you have them in that could come back and bite you, folks. So
yes.
Keep that in mind. Number one, don't be sinning to nobody, for goodness sake. But also, just because you have them on there, that could potentially bite you. So I don't know.
Yes, because other coroners can go, oh, you got to see this, and they'll text you a picture.
Yeah,
that's even if it's on a county phone, still not a good idea. You need to delete that as soon as you look at it.
Yeah, and it may not be illegal, right? It isn't that it's illegal. It may not even be immoral, but it could certainly be embarrassing if they're like, why do you have all these pictures of these car accidents on here? And then the attorney would make it into something that it's not, but you've given him the ingredients to do that.
And the reason I bring that up is because that's exactly what it was, a car accident. He says you can't believe what the damage to this vehicle that was T-boned.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, and nothing. We do it all the time. We do it all the time. It's not like we're sending maybe even pictures of people to people like civilians or dispatchers. That maybe we could say is 100% wrong. But I may show pictures of actual people on my phone or whatever to you or to someone at a conference, or like we're talking about suicides, and here's an interesting suicide, and we all want to show and tell. Well, we need to think about that.
But when we do it, we're doing it.
Leaves a trace.
Right. But and when we're doing that just as we're doing now, and you're recording this, and
Yeah.
there's things we probably shouldn't have said and things we probably shouldn't say,
Right.
but we
Well,
do because we're sharing. But
yeah.
this is how we learn.
Right.
So
Well, and I'm very
is
careful
this
about not mentioning
training?
names and people and things
Right.
like that too, you know.
But we need to get the right attorneys need to understand what we do and why we do it. So we shouldn't be doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
Really? We
Right.
shouldn't be sharing information that is helping others. That you don't have just anybody on this, right?
No, it's students with vendetta, but
Right.
even at that, I mean, well, of course, again, I've told stories, Kenny told stories, you've told stories, but we didn't. I mentioned Missouri, but that's the thing I'd be careful of. If you're going to talk about, well, this doctor,
Well, we know
a
where you
doctor
are.
or a situation, and I mentioned about some decedents, but I didn't use their real names. But that's
No.
what you have to be careful of. So if you're going to tell a story, everybody's John Smith, right? Tell the story, but it's John Smith. Well, it's when you start using real names and things like that in public forums. In this case, it'd probably be okay because, right, we're all students or we're all investigators, we're all whatever. It's not that it maybe is wrong. It's that what can it be twisted to look like? That's where it becomes
That's what exactly. And that's the problem. That's the only thing that makes one attorney better than the other is how he can twist the facts
Exactly. And so
to
that's
make it appear.
and that's just what we have to think about. It's not that we're wrong or right. It's just that we have to keep that in mind because it may bite us someday or not, or we just have to be careful about what we share and to who and identifiers like that. So, all right, I'm back with you on the other side of that. So, you know what? Pretty good information, huh? Kind of interesting. I don't know that my office can ever go completely paperless. Like I said, I'm a little bit old school. We do have everything uploaded in the cloud and on our servers and all that. But if we generate paper of some kind, I file it and we keep it. I don't know. I think it's just what your person likes. I see both. Obviously, I'm very technology oriented. But when you've been around a long time, you're kind of old school and kind of set in your ways. Maybe being totally paperless scares me just a little, but lots of good ideas. And believe me, everything that we talked about, I upload in the cloud and all that. I just don't shred my paper afterwards. So, and we try not to generate new paper, but anyway, that's kind of us. So a lot of great information there. I know you found something of interest there. As I do every week for years and years and years, I always implore you to find a way to be a blessing to someone in your life, in your field, in your industry, in your home. Just find a way, especially in the world we live in now, to brighten someone's day. And even the smallest thing is smiling and opening the door and saying hello will brighten someone's day. So make sure you find a way to bless someone in your life. And above all, be safe.
Thanks for listening to Coroner Talk, a DSPN media production. Visit our website at coronertalk.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at facebook.com/coronertraining.
3617, 1024 scene en route to morgue.